Hello, family members. Hope you're having a nice day today. Sorry about the kind of weird angle here. I have to have it for the lighting because this lovely bruise is a big part of what we're going to be talking about today. And, you need to be able to see it. So here we are. Well, so family members, my birthday was January 3rd, as of the time of recording, basically yesterday. Although it's getting close to midnight, whenever the heck it is. I have no idea. Time is meaningless. And if you know what happened on my birthday on January 3rd, 2026, when I turned 44 years old, I woke up ready to have a nice day and found out, oh, we've invaded another sovereign nation and kidnapped their leader. That's not concerning at all. Perfect thing to have happen to you on your birthday. Anyway, yeah, to me, anyway. So obviously, this has taken up a lot of space in people's minds and a lot of reporting in the news. And there's a lot of other things that are going on too, and it's pretty obvious, pretty transparent that the timing of this is certainly meant to distract from other things. One of them is what I have running on the TV over here is the full 8-hour video of Jack Smith's deposition in front of Congress. And boy, I'm not that far in yet, but it's pretty dang spicy. I can see why they wanted to distract from that as best they could. We had the transcript, but hearing this man say the things he's saying, there's something different about that. So, yeah, of course they dumped that on New Year's Eve, 3 days before they were planning on invading another country. That's a pretty good way of making sure it doesn't get watched that much. But me, personally, I'm here to talk about an issue that I do think we are being distracted from, other than, the whole client list and trafficking ring cover up and everything related to that, and all the words I don't want to say this early into the video, because I do actually hope that that YouTube lets some people see this video other than my very loyal subscribers who, I know who they are. Anyway, BB, it's okay. You don't have to worry. You're a dog. None of this is really that important to you. She's very spoiled. She's my parents' dog, so she's very spoiled. Anyway, princess. So yes, this bruise on my hand, that's the thing that I think we're being distracted from, that we really need to talk about. My bruise. I'm really mad no. But okay, all right. So the last 4 weeks, every Friday, I've had to go to the cancer center, get hooked up to an IV, and get infused with iron. I don't have cancer, to be clear. I have very severe iron deficiency anemia. This is not the first time I've had to do this. This is actually my third round over the last couple of years. So I'm going to have to get a whole bunch more testing and everything and figure out what the heck is going on with me. But every time I look at this, see if I can get an even better view for you. When I look at this, the back of my hand, I'm not taking like 15 times the dose you're supposed to take of aspirin. My blood isn't especially thin. But look at these bruises that I get from my injection sites. Does this not look familiar to you? Does this not look like pictures you've seen of Donald Trump's hand? He's always like, oh, it's from shaking too many hands. My hands get bruised. And, when you're overdosing, deliberately overdosing on a medication to make your blood thinner than it's meant to be, yeah, you are going to have more hematomas, more bruises from things like, simple contact. But lately, whenever I see pictures of the back of that man's hand, I'm going, that man is getting infusions. He's getting IV infusions of something, and I don't know what. But maybe he's iron deficient anemic like I am. Maybe that's why he's dozing off all the time. I can tell you, when you have that iron deficiency anemia, you are a sleepy little kitten. And you just fall asleep anytime, anywhere. So that could be it, it just could be something as simple as him having anemia the way I do. But I don't know that that's all that likely. I mean, it seems like a pretty strange illness to like lie about this aggressively, like anemia. Like, people aren't going to think anything weird of you if you're anemic. It feels like it's got to be something like more than just that. I keep seeing these memes on social media. They're just absolutely driving me crazy. Like, it'll be someone being like, I don't know why, if you're on so much aspirin and your blood is so thin and you get shot, you wouldn't bleed more. Yeah, it makes it seem like, fake blood has got to be involved because that's not involved with aspirin, blah, blah, blah. You, like, conspiracy theorists out there who, for some reason, think that Trump wasn't shot in the ear. First, you told me, oh, this is the way that the blood was spattered, and this is da 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 da. And if his blood's everywhere, then how is it that he healed up so fast? And then when we find out that he's been deliberately overdosing on blood thinners for however long now, and that explains why it was that there was so much blood for such a minor injury that took basically no time to heal because it was basically not an injury. People are like, oh, there wasn't enough blood. Like, you cannot satisfy these conspiracy theories. Like, evidence matters, people. That's what really gets me, is there are things that we can see, that we can observe, that are going on, that we need to be talking about, that are evidence for things that we need to be aware of as a country when it comes to our president's health and when it comes to, like, events that seem too fantastical to be real. Like, just because something is a fantastical event doesn't mean that it didn't happen. The odds of any random scenario, any one random scenario happening versus any other one random scenario are exactly even if it's a random situation. And we forget that sometimes the things that are statistically improbable do actually happen. Yeah, I do think it's pretty freaking ridiculous that somebody got that close to shooting him in the head and just barely grazed his ear. And then he bled all over the place because he was taking too many blood thinners. And that teeny tiny little itty bitty nick that he got on his ear was enough to create a lot of blood. And then the bullet that didn't kill him did kill a man behind him. Like, yeah, that seems pretty ridiculous, but it also happened. Like, all the evidence that we have, real evidence, points to that. And if you're a conspiracy theorist, you can try to twist whatever evidence you have to support the conclusion you want to get to. But if you stand back and you look at it and you put the totality of things together, the scenario is plausible with what we know. And when I was in college, second college, in my mid-20s, I got rear-ended, just pulling out of my neighborhood. And the guy that rear-ended me was an old retiree. I mean, this is Florida. That's probably not too surprising, right? And he was a heart patient. He was on blood thinners. And just the jolt of hitting the back of my car, not that fast, we were just pulling out of the neighborhood, was enough to cause a place on his arm to just start bleeding. because when your blood is that thin, doesn't clot that well, it doesn't take much. And of course, when I called 911, I made the mistake of saying, well, the guy that hit me is bleeding. And so they sent a fire truck to like heal the cut on his arm. I was like, I think he's going to be okay. But like, yeah, old guys who are on blood thinners barely nick them and they bleed like you would not even imagine. Like, it, when I found out that Trump was using too much aspirin on purpose to thin his blood, I'm like, oh, that makes so much sense. But the thing is, there's a reason why people who are heart patients are prescribed a low dose of aspirin by their doctors. Because thin blood isn't a good thing. Like that Trump has literally made himself into like a hemophiliac. Like on purpose because he's that ignorant, you know? I guess. I mean, that's the only thing I can take from his public statements on this. I'm not going by speculation. He has publicly said this. So, we got public reporting of the president saying, yeah, I take way too much aspirin. I want my blood nice and thin. You know how bad of a risk he's putting himself in for, like, bleeding out from any minor injury? Like, he gets in a car wreck and he has a little internal bleeding, something that shouldn't be that big a deal, but that could be like life threatening for him because he's abusing a drug called aspirin. It's a drug. I don't care if the connotation of the word drug is some sort of like illegal recreational thing in your mind. Aspirin is a drug. He is using aspirin against doctor's orders excessively on purpose to give himself excessively thin blood and is putting himself at risk of a aneurysm, um, uh, any sort of minor injury becoming a life-threatening bleeding episode. That is concerning. And I don't see anyone really even talking about it from that perspective. Like, we have a president who has admitted to the public he is abusing a dangerous drug that is making it that much more likely that he could develop a very immediate, very fatal condition. I feel like I don't know what his doctors can do when you have a patient who is so willful in like going against everything that you say to them, but like that seems like medical malpractice on some level. Like, I don't even know what to think. I mean, obviously we know that the Trump family has this credo that appearances are everything. If you read Ivanka Trump's book, she'll say as much. If people make an assumption about you that's not true, but it's to your benefit that they believe that, well, just let them believe that. She says that. That's advice that she gives to people in her book. And, like, obviously, she's saying, lie by omission. Lie by omission as aggressively as you can to manipulate people. And doesn't understand that she's confessing that you can never believe anything that she says. You can never take anything she says at face value. Because to her, it doesn't matter what the truth is. It matters whether or not what you believe is beneficial to her or not. And so if you believe an untrue thing and it's beneficial to her, why would she ever correct you, right? That's the way she looks at it. She doesn't look at other human beings as human beings. And I think that's kind of the family credo. They look at themselves as being something superior. I mean, Donald Trump himself has said that he believes that he had been born the son of a miner, a coal miner in West Virginia, or whatever. This is a bit of a paraphrase, but that he would have, found his way to get out of there. He wouldn't have stayed where he was born. He would have become a rich and successful man in his mind, no matter what, because he believes there's something intrinsically better in him, that people who don't get out of poverty or get out of rural areas just don't have. He believes that he has just some intrinsic better quality. And in order to believe that, then you have to kind of dehumanize other people. You have to look at them as lesser creatures than yourself. And so they're perfectly happy to lie and manipulate and say whatever they want to say about what's going on with his health. We can never take anything publicly said about Trump by anybody who is authorized by Trump at face value. But the one thing that Donald Trump does have in spades is impulsivity. He is a very impulsive man. And I know that that's part of what a lot of the people who like him like about him, is whether or not it's beneficial to him, he's apt to just blurt out the truth at any time. That's why in his press conference about Venezuela, he did not mention democracy one time. Supposedly we're going in there to make the country more democratic, and we're in there to help the people of Venezuela. Didn't manage to mention democracy even once, but he did mention oil 26 times. He can't help but on some level be on the up and up about his true intentions, because he kind of forgets that these foregone conclusions for him and his craven mentality seem absolutely horrific to people with normal moral principles. He has no moral principles other than the principle that whatever benefits him is good and whatever doesn't benefit him is bad. A very self-centered person to be the leader of a country, you know, where you're supposed to be advocating for the good of everyone in the country. But, you know, that will never, ever happen with this man. And our interests don't align with his. We're worthless to him in that regard. At any rate, that means that what we can know and do know about his actual health is something we have to kind of piece together from a cloud of information. Some from, official sources, and you have to kind of read between the lines. Some, just impulsive outbursts from him, and certain physical indications of medical conditions that are just really impossible to hide, like things like this, having a big bruise on the back of your hand. Mine's not nearly as bad as his, but if anyone comes to see me and they see the back of my hand, they are going to notice it, or they're going to notice one of my other collection of bruises, like the fact that he has the swelling in his ankles. That became a big to-do. And normally I would feel very uncomfortable trying to speculate about somebody's health or to look at the state of somebody's body and try to draw conclusions from that. But when you have somebody who you know is not going to give you correct information, and you also have a very personal stake in the state of their health, if the President of the United States is mentally incapacitated or physically incapacitated or dead, that has a very big impact on my life, your life, everybody in the entire world to a certain extent, but definitely everybody within the United States, right? And so we have a right to this information. It's important to our personal lives, because he's chosen to take the mantle of representative of the United States. His life is not his own anymore. He assigned himself to be somebody who is held up to this level of scrutiny. And so while I wouldn't think it was ethical to do this for anybody else, like I'm not going to be trying to break down what's going on with a celebrity with their health that they choose not to disclose. That's to me, that is absolutely abhorrent. But in this case, it is something that we have to, as patriotic Americans, be aware of. And I think that we all have to be very cognizant. We have to, you know, I would say that people who run foundations, any sort of charities, business owners, community leaders need to start thinking of contingency plans for what they would do if there was an immediate regime change in the United States due to some sort of fatal episode brought on by a bleeding disorder that, our president has chosen to give himself. That is a very concerning thing. I I don't want Donald Trump to die. I am a very pro gay, pro trans, pro woman, pro, bodily autonomy and blah, blah, blah. I'm one of those lefty, blue haired liberals, is what they would call me, but I'm not a liberal and I don't have blue hair. But, that's the kind of person that most people would see me as. And I truly abhor Donald Trump's policies, but I don't want him to die. Not on a personal level, just I think it's sad when, a young man loses his father, or an older man loses his father, or sort of, strange situation like that could happen to just anybody. People losing family members is sad. People dying prematurely is sad, although, Donald Trump hasn't exactly had a short life or anything. But I just also think it would be very bad for me and my country if he died abruptly, because I don't believe his vice president was chosen to be someone who was competent and ready to handle the job. He was chosen to be someone who would not challenge the president in any way. And while Trump seems to have a lot of power in the executive office is not meant to have as much power as he exerts. And he's only getting away with it because he has this thrall on the voter base that the congressional leaders and the party leaders and the governors and things like that need in order to maintain their seats of power. And when they don't have the fear of him to drive them, what does that mean? I think that it would be very possible that it could be a lot of instability in our country. And I don't just mean economic instability. I mean every kind of instability we could possibly have. The services that we depend on in this country to be able to exist could have major disruptions, because there could be a lot of government functions that won't be able to process because there'll be too much discontinuity. There's no leadership. And the Republican Party has already lost the House of Representatives. They may still on paper have the majority, but there's been multiple discharge petitions that have gone through. That should not happen when the one party controls the House. That is a sign that the controlling party no longer has control. It's already happened. We don't even have to wait for the midterms. And then add in all of the instability that we have now, with at least Trump as a unifying figure in some regards, and then remove even that locus point, place for people to try to steer the ship. I don't think that almost anybody in the Republican Party wants to listen to J.D. Vance. There's some very extreme, very online right-wingers who like J.D. Vance, and that's about it. outside of Peter Thiel and a very, very slim amount of people, that man does not have a lot of support, and you just can't get much done as the president without support, without at least a respect out of fear or something. I think that this is one of the biggest issues that we're being distracted from right now that I don't see anyone talking about. Yes, they're distracting us from the Epstein list. Yes, they're distracting us from the disastrous tariffs. Yes, they're distracting us from, all of the horrible things that are going on in the Department of Education or DHS or ICE or anything. Everything that they're trying to distract us from. I think those are important issues. We have to discuss them. We have to multitask. We cannot let anyone think for any minute that this illegal invasion of Venezuela is acceptable to the American people. And I'm glad to see that there are people in the streets already making that clear. But at the very core of it, I think this is the biggest thing that we're being distracted from, and the thing that is the most imminent threat to the United States right now. So, on that happy, fun note, at least you got to look at BB while I was doing this. At least my little princess came along to get some pettings. Family members, I'm very worried for our country. I'm very worried for us all. I'm worried for your mental health. Specifically your mental health. Anyone watching this has to be terminally online like me, and I'm sure that your mental health is struggling. Please make sure that you have a venting person. You may need to have like a therapist or more than that. That's okay too. But make sure you have a venting person, someone that you can go to and complain about the things in your life that are frustrating to you. It's so important right now. And then you also need a secondary venting person that you can vent to about the first person. Because all the people in our lives that we love very much, there are going to be times when they annoy the crap out of us, and we just need to vent. Give yourself that space. The small dramas in your life are still important too. You can multitask. You can care about these big things and your own small things too. Your community needs you. If you can, run for local office. I'm just throwing that out there. All right, family members, I'm going to let you go. I hope you have a lovely day. And I'll talk to you again. Hopefully, no more wars will be started before I get to talk to you again. But hey, you never know. Love you. Good night. Bye.